Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 238 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are here joining us this early morning, or whether you're catching this on the replay. Now, as always, if you think any of the content that we're talking about today could be relevant for anyone in your network or your circle, please hit the share button and share the love with others. Well, as you guys know, we've been covering lots of topics this November, and we are circling back to refocus on National Family Caregivers Month. And I am so excited today to have this new incredible guest with us, Wendy Garvin Mayo. She is a nurse practitioner, a cancer caregiver coach, consultant, and advocate. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Yes. And, I'm so happy that you reached out to me because you have something unique here to bring to this platform. Over the years, and we are celebrating our third anniversary this month, we have not ever had anyone that's really come on that has developed a cancer caregiver community. And I think that it's so needed, and kind of taking a dive into that, whether it be for adults or those caring for their children that may have cancer. And so I just can't wait to learn more from you. But before we get to that point, I'd love you to share with the guests a little bit about your background, Wendy, and kind of what brought you to this point.
Yes, thank you so much. So again, my name is Wendy Garvin Mayo. I am an oncology nurse practitioner. I'm a cancer caregiver advocate, consultant, and coach. And I'm also the founder of Shape Partners. So my background, I've been in nursing for over 16 years. I spent the majority of my career caring for cancer patients and their family members. And then a few years ago, cancer kind of hit me personally when my aunt was diagnosed with a glioblastoma. And I was involved in her care to the point where I was a consultant, right? Being the oncology nurse practitioner, I had the background. But I watched my family, specifically my aunts, her sisters, really transition from sisters to caregivers and required so much support. Now, in my professional life, I serviced cancer caregivers, right? Very episodic, right? So nothing long term, kind of touch and go. But when it hit me personally with my aunts, I realized there's a huge gap that needs to be filled, and cancer caregivers really fall in that gap. So that was really my motivation for starting Shape Partners, which is a resource for these cancer caregivers.
And with the Shape Partners, where did that come up, for like the name of it? And do you have, because it says Shape Partners, do you have others that work within this with you? Like, is it a team of you together within this support group, or just yourself?
Yes, so it was intentionally named Shape Partners because I always think of things in a holistic manner. So I am a nurse practitioner, an oncology nurse practitioner. I have that background. I'm also a life coach. But I think it's important to have partners. So I have a health coach I work with. I have a grief counselor I work with. I have a yoga instructor I work with. And I have a essential oil strategist I work with. So just depending on the needs of the cancer caregiver, I do have partners and other partners who I can bring in to really help cancer caregivers optimize, their mental or physical health. So that's really important.
I love that. And do you find that there is, that median? I know when we talk about National Family Caregivers Month, and for those caring for their elderly loved ones, it seems at that about 3-year mark that usually most need to seek lots of mental health support. It's like kind of the breaking point. And for those of us like myself that have been lifelong caregivers, I don't know where that goes. I don't know what year that happens because it's a lifelong journey. But for these cancer caregivers, what do you find with them? Where is it that pivotal breaking point of really needing that support? And when do you advise that they get involved, with making sure that they're within a community that can help them through this journey?
Yeah, so cancer caregivers are very unique because cancer is not progressive, right? So many times it just happens out of the blue.
Right.
So someone goes into a doctor's appointment, with their loved one, and their whole life just shifts instantaneously, right? Because you get a cancer diagnosis. And I feel like cancer caregivers should reach out at the beginning because they leave that office feeling so defeated, so confused, so uncertain. They have fear, right? Because you hear cancer, you think death automatically.
Yes.
Cancer caregivers, I always say, don't have the luxury of planning, right,
Mm,
for their caregiver journey. It's kind of thrust upon them
yeah.
without any notice.
Yes.
So I think reaching out at the beginning is very important. And one of my missions, personally, as a healthcare professional, is really equipping oncology healthcare professionals with resources that they can provide cancer caregivers. Because many times when you go in with your loved one who has cancer, whether it's a new diagnosis or ongoing diagnosis, the focus is really on the patient. And
Right.
the caregivers are kind of left there. So, one of my goals is really to have healthcare professionals assess cancer caregivers for stress, overwhelm, or just their needs, and providing them the resources that they need.
Yes, and as you were saying about things being thrust upon you, I feel that very much, whether it is like your aging loved one or whether it is that immediate diagnosis or someone gets in a traumatic car accident and they go from being fine to having a traumatic brain injury needing to be cared for, whatever that may be. Is it because it is thrust upon them? What I hear a lot, because I do patient advocacy, is like not knowing the questions to ask. So
Yeah.
like all of a sudden they're like, oh, you have appointments every single day, and then you're going to come back every 6 weeks for this, and then you're going to be transferred to this floor, and all of those things. And then sometimes you need to be immediately admitted to the hospital. That's how they found the cancer. Maybe it is that appointment. um, do you have any strategies or places of resource that you help finding those questions to ask? I always find that because people don't know what you don't know, right? You don't
Right.
even know it.
I think it's
Mhm.
very interesting that you asked that. I actually just developed a tool for cancer caregivers specifically, the
Okay.
13 questions to ask when your loved one's diagnosed with cancer. So that tool really helped cancer caregivers understand the diagnosis,
Mhm.
understand the treatment, understand the prognosis,
Right.
understand the philosophy of the healthcare provider regarding quality of life, regarding palliative care. And also, it helps the cancer caregiver really explore resources for themselves and their loved ones. So they're because sometimes you just don't know, right? You're nervous, you're
Right.
afraid, you're unsure. So having this guide will definitely help them, ask the appropriate questions.
And the emotional side of this as well, as we talk about, we know that as we care for our loved ones, sometimes they're not always that caring to us. Like I always say for my son, I'm probably his least favorite person on every day of the week. You know what I'm saying? Because it starts out, especially for these types of journeys where it's short, it's kind of a loving thing. They're happy that you're helping them. And then the weeks go by and then the time goes by. And then you become, like the mini doctor telling them what to do or how it should be or what you can eat or how you can help. And they're fatigued and agitated. And how do you, what advice, I guess I would say, would you give to caregivers that are on that journey of their loved one starting to be frustrated and all they want to do is love them and get them well?
Yeah, so I think it's really important to communication. Communication is key. So really communicating with your loved one, right? Because sometimes we want to protect them, and sometimes that can make them annoyed, right? So really communicating what are their needs and sharing your needs, right? And I also think we always talk about self care, and I like calling it self preservation. I heard someone mention self preservation, which is essential because I think a lot of that comes from the lack of control. So really understanding what we are in control of and what we're not in control of. And I advise, my caregivers, make a list. Make a list. What's on that list that you can actually control? Because not everything you can control. And whatever's on that list that you can control, let's develop a plan. Many times, there's a lot of things we can't control.
Right.
So, and I
And
think a lot of that comes from,
yes.
control everything. I want you to eat this. I want you to do that. But
Yeah.
also, we're not in control of our loved ones, right?
Right.
And
Right.
they're on their own journey with, the diagnosis, whether it's cancer, whether it's dementia, whether it's a disability. So
Right.
they're processing it themselves. And as caregivers, you're processing it in your own way.
Yes. And inside of, so you have a separate community. Is that a free community for people that are cancer caregivers? to hop on and interact and, join each other in conversation that way? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a private Facebook group called Cancer Caregiver Community with Shape Partners, and it is for cancer caregivers, friends, or family members, whether you're a current or former cancer caregiver or family or friend, really just to come and get interactive support. So interactive engagement support. So we have a number of things going on in that community where we get to kind of know each other. There's resources. I go live, give little tidbits on things related to caregiving,
Yeah.
things related to reducing stress, reducing feeling overwhelmed. We have a number of guest speakers that come in. And I also do something called the Cancer Caregiver Series that's really ongoing now, where we interview cancer caregivers to really understand their journey. So that's what goes on in that community there.
Yes, I have a list of people that would be great for that. Because I think when you hear other people's journeys and their stories, just so much of what the On Air Advocate is about, you're like, you identify and you realize that you are not alone
Yeah.
within this. And so I think that it is absolutely so valuable. On your website, do you have resources right there that people can download or print off, that sort of thing there that they can find?
Yeah, so if you go to the website, shapepartners.org, you will get the 13 questions to ask when your loved one's diagnosed with cancer. There's also a resource section that have support groups, various things. It's a lot of resources there specifically for cancer caregivers or caregivers in general. And then if you want to connect with me or anyone else, I can link you with partners. So our partners who we work with, it's on a referral basis. So whatever, the individual needs, we're able to help you with that.
I love that. And, Wendy, before we wrap up for today, and I just have to tell you, my sister's name is Wendy, and I very rarely meet people named Wendy, so I love saying your name. I don't think I've ever interviewed someone with the name Wendy. Where's my sister's? Okay, I'm off task. I'm off the point right now this morning. But I would love for you to leave any caregivers that are listening today with anything that one or two tidbits that you really think are so valuable that they should know as caregivers going through this journey.
So what I will say is, as cancer caregivers, what you're feeling is real and it's normal. And cancer really shifts your life and the life of your loved one. And sometimes you don't know what to do. But the first thing you can do is reach out. And I know reaching out can be very hard for many people, but it's important to find that outlet. Find someone that can actually be with you on the journey, help you really unpack the things that are, worrying you, that are stressing you out, that's making you feel overwhelmed. So reach out, find an outlet, and have someone on that journey with you, because it just makes it a little easier when you have that outlet or you have that person you can call or just be with you on this journey that is not easy. It's life changing. It's life changing.
Yes. And there's something so incredibly special when you meet others that are in that same space. I know as a special needs mom, I guess I could say, my son growing up or having chronic medical illness, when you meet mothers that have that same kind of, title underneath them, it's like immediately you're connected. Immediately, it's like you've known them forever. And I think the same for this cancer caregiver community, for those that are traveling that journey. There's just so much synergy together with that. So I'm so excited to have you here and sharing the resource on the platform that you have, Wendy. Can you let the audience know again, what are the best ways to reach you? How can they reach out to you? How can they find you? All that good stuff. If you have any programs, you said you're in a series right now, how can they get connected with that?
Yep. So you can go to the website, shapepartners.org, or you can go to our page on Facebook, Shape Partners on Facebook. Our private community is Cancer Caregivers Community with Shape Partners, so you can reach us there. And I just wanted to say, Tammy, the support groups are phenomenal, especially in the midst of COVID, the pandemic. Virtual support groups are definitely the way to go. Even if you just pick up the phone and listen in, you don't want to engage, but that's another outlet that cancer caregivers can explore.
And there, do you for your support groups on there, did you have the option for them to call in and listen, or are you saying for other support groups that are out there?
So Shape Partners, we actually partner with ANCAN, and ANCAN has a virtual support group for cancer caregivers.
Oh.
And, yep, we meet twice a month. And, I post it in the community and on the page, and you can dial in, or you can, come in live like this and be on camera. But it's a great outlet for cancer caregivers.
I love that. I love that, Wendy. I love all the things that you are doing. I love that you are making a difference each and every day in our community. I thank you also, as well as being a healthcare provider, for the service that you are giving during these trying times as well. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. And if you guys want to know any more about the On Air Advocate and the services that we have to offer, you can head on over to onairadvocate.com and find them all there. And if you are viewing this on Facebook and you would like to become part of our private community, head up to the top of this page, hit the blue button, and that will let you in. So with that, everybody have a fabulous rest of your Wednesday. Thanks so much, Wendy. Bye-bye.